Hello everybody, I hope you're well. We've got a lot to be getting on with this week, so we're going to crack straight on with it. First of all, massive thank you to Ekster, they're back sponsoring this video. More about them a little bit later on. But our main point of operations is finishing off this HIPPED roof here behind me. The lads have been working really hard on it all week, getting it ready for the roofers that are hopefully coming in 2 days' time at time of recording. So hopefully the weather will hold off and they'll be able to come as scheduled and finally get this job watertight. Now the roofs are coming to an end here. They're just finishing off the HIPPED, as I just said. Richie's finishing off the one over the garage. So hopefully in 2 days we'll be able to hand it all over to them. But for now, we're going to give you a step-by-step guide in how exactly that HIPPED roof was built. And it's just a bit of a warning for you that we want to explain how it was all done, and we can't do that without a bit of talking. So there's a bit of talking because we like to explain things, and that's just the way it is. Right then, let's get started.
Okay, so what I'm pointing to now, you can see on the screen, we've got the existing ridge, which is a 6x1. And then what we've done then is we've fixed a timber onto the wall to carry the new ridge. We've then put a centre line on it so we know where we are with centre of existing roof, because we're matching up with this back and front. There's no step in, it's back and front, parallel and level with the existing roof. So what you can see now is, apart from a beautiful sunshine and me and Corby silhouetting in the lovely sunshine, what we're going to do now is this. You've just seen we've got this timber on, we've centralised the ridge so we know where the ridge is going. What we're going to do now is get this ridge, which is a 9x2. Obviously make sure we get the crown sorted. Put a bit of an arrow on there so we know which way it's got to go. And what our intentions are, if we just demonstrate for now, just stick that on top of that 9x2 now, please, Corb, that bit on the roof there. So what we've got now is, that now sits on the timber on the wall, and we level up our centre line we marked on the wall to make sure this ridge is perfectly centred that end. Then what we do is we'll only eye this through for now, because we're going to do our rafters on our wall first to check our pattern. We then get this bit of timber that Corby's made up. If you want to pick that up for me, please. Fix a bit of timber on the bottom of it. Just come over here by the ply. So what we're going to do now, we'll get this, we'll level this in off that timber and we'll clamp it to there, and then we'll screw it in to make sure we're level. And I've already got a mark on the wall plate here, which is where my centre of my end common is. I'll talk about commons and jack rafters after, or later on in the episode. So that'll sit there like that. We'll clamp that and make sure this is level. Now I know that the existing roof, the rafters go a couple of mil down from the top of that ridge. So as I've done before, or you've seen before, I'll pull my string line. Okay, I hope we can get rid of that now. I will get my string line, or chalk line, sorry, and snap a chalk line on the side of this rafter, side of this ridge, sorry, to make sure that when we put our rafters on, we go up to that point all the way across. There is a little bit of casting that on it slightly, but if we are out at all, I can eliminate that by going to a chalk line and not going to the top of this. Because the other thing is, unlike that one that's up there, timber now is called easy edge. It's got a nice round edge on it. It's all regular, so it's all the same size normally, and it's got a round edge on. So it's more difficult to go to the point to get a measurement because everything's got rounded edge. You're only talking a couple of millimetres, but at least it's enough, isn't it, to knock you out sometimes. So that string line also helps, the chalk line also helps with that. You can measure to an actual line. So our first plan is to work out from the existing roof what the angle this roof is going to be. So let's have a look at that. Okay, so I've got good access from outside on the existing rafter, but you can just get into the loft, or you can just put a timber or a level on top of your roof and do it that way. But if you've got access to the loft, or you can get to the existing rafters, it's always better to get a more precise angle. So I've got my little boat level. I've drawn a plumb line there, so I'm plumb. And then I have got an adjustable roofing square. Now you can buy these of all makes and models. I don't think you can get this Stanley 12-inch one anymore, so I'm told. You can get the 6-inch version. However, this just means that what I've got to do, this comes like that. So I could just put this on my roof now, like so. Put my spectacles on so I can see, and I'll just get my rail there, run that down there and sit it on top of the existing rafter, and then line it up. Can you see that curb there? Yep. I'll line it up then on my plumb line. So I get like that. So once I'm level like that, I'll then lock that off, make sure it's nicely locked off, and then simply read it off on there. Now we know that this is 32 degrees because I've already checked it. But you can also, if you've got one of these, you can use a speed square. All you need to make sure you do is your pivot point, which it says there, pivot, it says all the same on all the squares. You can just get this corner on there like that. Make sure you're on your line like that and you're sitting parallel. I mean, if you wanted to, you could put that on there as well, just to give yourself even more chance of doing it. Yeah, that's on my line there, look. Do that like that. And then simply read off the number which is in there, which is, to me, that says 32 degrees. Can you see that, Corb? Yeah. 32 degrees, see? So that's 32. So that's two different methods you can do it. Or you can go proper old school and get a sliding bevel, which I used to have. I used to have two bevels. I had one for plumb cut and one for seat cut. I just wrote on it and kept them locked off when I did a roof. You could just do your level line, get your sliding bevel, set it to that, and then that then becomes locked off, and you can use it throughout your job. What I would say is though, always, once you've set it, mark it on another piece of timber and have it accessible, because if you happen to knock it, they quite easily move, sliding bevels do. So at least you can just keep referencing that same piece of timber, rather than going back to a separate part of the roof and put a level line on again, because you could have discrepancies. So if you understand what I'm saying, set your sliding bevel to there, put that on another piece of timber that you can have access to throughout the whole roof job, and use a bevel. Not a problem at all. You haven't got to have expensive, you know, sort of tools like this. A bevel you can pick up for quite cheap now, but if you can get one of these, they're useful for all parts of your roofing. Right then, so that's the next step. So now what we need to do is measure the widths between our wall plates. You would have already seen, if you've been following the channel so far, you would have already seen that Adam has already been round and set all my wall plates. Now, when Adam puts his brickwork in, he obviously dips it with his laser that he's got, with his reader, to make sure that when he goes up certain heights, he dips it again to make sure that he's on track all the way around, so that always brickwork's level all the way around. It becomes more important when we get to this level. Not saying that I'm more important, I am, but that ain't the point I'm trying to make. So we've got, when he puts his wall plate on, he'll put compo underneath it, and then he'll bed this wall plate on top of the compo, and again he will dip it, tap it, level it all, dip it all, go around the other side, dip it again, so it's exactly the same height, this side and that side. That is important. The only difference with this roof, which is going to make it a little bit more complicated, so to give you a how-to, if you like, oh, I want to do that, I hate doing that, I hate that, sorry about that. This is a bit different because the wall plate you can see here is higher than this one, which means that this is what's known as a bastard hip in carpentry terms. There is a different terms you can use, but from my point of view, that's what it's called, because it is, that's exactly what it is. And it ultimately means the hip doesn't come 45 degrees from your two commons. Common rafters, this is what I want to talk about now. A common rafter is anything that goes from your ridge right down to your wall plate. That's your common rafter. With a hipped roof, because you put so many commons in, and that this will all become clear in the episode later on, you put your last common in when we know where the ridge is going to stop, and then on the end of the roof here you have one common, and that goes that way up to the ridge and meets the ridge like that, and that is the only common that you have on the side of a hip. So what you then have to do, from where these two meet, you then normally put your hip up, and it goes from that point there and goes all the way down to the corner of the building, which is 45 degrees, so it's quite simple. Then you infill with jack rafters. Jack rafters are very similar to valley rafters, which you saw us do, which is you've got a compound cut on it, which ultimately means you've got to cut that way and you've got to cut that way. Two cuts basically in the same part of your timber. And a jack rafter goes bird's mouth on the bottom of your wall plate, and it goes up and goes against your hip. That is called a jack rafter. Again, this will all be covered in detail in this episode, unless of course it ends up being two, because I talk too much, or so I'm told. Right then, so we've measured our, another important thing, once it's all level, we have to try and make sure we put them on parallel to each other. That's important. Now, as you can imagine, there is multiple courses of blocks here. To maintain complete parallel is a mean task, a mean feat, difficult feat, task, whatever. But I was 11 mil difference in width from that end to this end, which is 4.2 metres. So I think that's pretty good. So you've got two options. You can leave it and mess with it in your hip, which is difficult, or you can pick your widest point and adjust the other ends of the wall plate. So what I'm going to do is, because it's 11 mil, is that 11 mil? 10 mil, 11 mil, I'm just going to get this end and go on this wall plate here, out 5 mil, and go out 5 mil that end. Or you could go 2.5 in that end, 2.5 out that end, whatever you want to do. But 5 mil to make it parallel. So 7144 is our outside to outside wall plate dimension. And this was 71332, 33, something like that. So I'll just push these wall plates out now a little bit, which as I say is about 5 mil. And then make sure it's the same width. So that's important. So that's the next stage. So we've done that.
Well, let's have a little break from the roof for a second, talk about this week's sponsor, Ekster. Now, as you can see, as I'm sure you're aware, it's Christmas, a time for going out and having a few drinks, which is exactly what I'm just about to do. But I'm not going to take my massive bulky wallet out. I'm going to use one of theirs, their lovely slimline card wallet. Now, to really do this justice, I've got to give you a bit of a close-up. So let's do that right now. Well, if you fancy going onto Ekster's website, a link of which is in the description to this video, you'll see all the other cool stuff they do, including the other type of design that they do in terms of their wallets, which they call a Parliament wallet, which is a bit more traditional. But this is my preferred choice. This is their card wallet. Holds up to 12 cards. We all love that. Is completely safe from being scanned and cloned by them baddies down at the shopping centre. And you can get some really cool add-ons for it, such as this money clip that goes onto the back, a little compartment for your house key, but more importantly for me, what sets it above the rest in any other level is this. That is a tracker. If you lose your wallet, you just pull up the app on the phone and it will take you straight to it. And it also works the other way. Can't find your phone? Get the tracker out and your phone will ring until you find it. So you're covered any which way but loose. So there you have it, your perfect present for Christmas. Your perfect going out kit in a beautifully designed slimline wallet. Well, there you go, everything you need for a night out and to get back in again and to find it again if things get a little bit too heavy in a beautiful slimline card wallet. They do a couple of different styles of wallets and loads of different colours. So to choose yours, go to their website, it's on screen now, and of course all the information is in the description to this video. Type in this code, BUILDERS, to get up to 50% off everything on their website. Thank you once again, Ekster, for sponsoring this channel. Now back over to Rich on that roof.
Time lapse then. What you caught us do first, we use our ridge to line up from where I know that our centre common's going, which is here. So we lined our ridge up to this length, this here, and I got Corby to line it through roughly where we are with our centre, and we drew a line onto the floor, which if you look down there, you can see that's what we've done. Drew a line all the way through. Then using our bit of a prop, what we did then was, let's come this side of this. What we did then was we lined the inside of this timber onto the line. Again, so we know our centre common is coming up against this. We've then stuck this on there, screwed it into our centre, so we know this is centre now of our roof. We've then lifted this up and levelled it in, which you saw us do with the clamp and put a couple of screws in to hold it. Then Corby's grabbed the level and I've put a bit of a brace on this just to hold this, just to stop it whipping like this. So that's give us now our rough ridge size. Then what we did was, we are a couple of mil above our existing ridge in there when we put the 9x2 on. So best intentions and all that. We should have been 220, we're about 217. But because I said that the existing rafters are slightly below the existing ridge, what I've done is I've come down 10 mil. Then we've used our chalk line again, just to ping a 10 mil line all the way across there on both sides. That is ultimately now where, we had a bit of timber, didn't we, somewhere? That's ultimately now where, when we do the plumb cut on our rafter, so our rafter's going to look like that, isn't it? It's going to have a plumb cut on it. That will go like that, and then this will line up there on that. That's where our rafter will be at the top, and we'll go to the same line so they'll all be in line and perfectly flat, is what we're going for. That's what we've done. Our next step now is we've got to start looking at length of rafters and start measuring rafters. Now there's two options you've got with this really. If you've got a roofing square and you've got a roofing app like I have, if you go and have a look at Dan from Essential Roofing Square, that's what I've got. Excellent, really, really good. And there's an associated app with that. And that will give you, once you know your width between your wall plates and you know a pitch of your roof, you can work at rafter lengths, which is excellent. So that's what I'm going to do. However, I'm going to show you a method that I used for a long, long time and still do now, just to check, really, just to double check everything. So we'll have a look at that method now, and you can use that in conjunction with the way I've already showed you, putting a level line on your existing rafters. Or you can just do this one once you've got your ridge in place, but you need your ridge in place or your ledger board on a lean-to roof to do this method. So let's show you that now. So what this method requires you to do, I've already said you've got to have your ridge or your ledger board in place. If it's a ledger board, you just have to make sure, I'll talk about this in a moment, make sure that this bit of lath here doesn't protrude past the back of the ledger board and obviously hit your wall. So you'd have to have a look at that, but you know, let's not discuss that because we've got a pitched roof. So what you need to do first is obviously get one of your rafters and then make sure it sits on the wall plate down the bottom, which it does, sits on the wall plate down there. And then at the top here, what you need to do, you need to fix a piece of lath, just as I have here. And what this distance here represents from here to here is the depth of what my bird's mouth is going to be. In this instance, it's a third of this timber. This timber's 195, 8x2. So in effect now, that now is a 65mm bird's mouth, which, as you know, goes down the bottom. But what I'm doing now is I'm transferring the angle by picking this end up 65mm, as opposed to dropping that angle down 65mm when I put my bird's mouth on. So it's ultimately the same position it will be in now once it's a rafter. Does that make sense? So I've picked this end up 65mm now, and then you can just simply get your level line on there again like that. Mark a level line there, and then get your roofing square, which we know this is from before, off the existing rafter, and then you sit it on there like that, look. And as you can see, it sits on our line, same as that, exactly the same. And that's another way of doing it, and that's a quicker way when you've got this instance. If you've got the room, I mean, I've had to struggle a little bit because I've got scaffold and everything else in the way then, bit of block work, so it took me a little bit longer to set it up just to show you. But ultimately, as I've just said, I'll be using the roofing app, so I haven't got to do this method, but I thought I'd show you that because I showed it first of all on YouTube a couple of years ago, and the video's done well, so I thought I'd show you again, just for people that missed it and don't want to go back on the channel to look at that episode. But that was the lean-to roof episode where I spelt two wrong, or did I? I'll leave that up to you. Look how many views it's had and tell me I did it on purpose or not. Leave it up to you. We start them this morning very fresh, 0 degrees. It's meant to get to 4 degrees, but whatever. At least it's not raining, that's all I care about. My tools aren't going to get wet, just going to get cold, that's all. So I can get over myself for that. We've got a few things to do this morning just to set ourselves out to carry on putting this roof on. So let me talk you through them. So what Corby's doing now is just setting out our 400 centres on the wall plate. I haven't worked it out yet, but I'm going to guess at maybe 4, possibly 3 common rafters across this front and the back before we start coming into hips and jacks and things on this side. So he's doing that for now. Then what he's going to do, because it's quite difficult to get down there and start cutting these off, what I'm going to do in preparation for soffit, that is, we're going to have a look at the underside of that lintel there, and we're going to level all the way through to that timber there. Get ourselves a seat cut or a level line on that end of that rafter, and then cut that off now rather than doing it after. That is only screwed in at the moment, and we're happy with that rafter as it is, so we're going to get that cut off, and at least I can use that as a pattern. The difference on the back here is that we've got a 300 wall 100mm cavity, and a 100mm cavity being because, as you can see down there, and you've already seen in previous videos, we're having a 70mm external wall insulation along here, so we can afford to reduce our cavity to 100mm, which gives them a little bit more room to get in what they want to get into this part here. So that's why we're doing that. So as a result of that, it's not the same cut as that one, because I have to explain myself. In effect, what you've got, this rafter, because it's 50mm closer, I'm 50mm further away from the face of that ridge to the outside of this wall plate, if that makes sense. So therefore, if I was to cut exactly the same plumb cut and seat cut that I cut over there with the 65mm bird's mouth, it wouldn't work here. My rafter would be too high. So what I'm going to do now is work out my topper plate height. And what that means, topper plate height, it means from the corner of your wall plate there, plumb up to the top of your rafter. So from there to there, I'll put a bit of a mark. You can't see it there because the timber's frozen, but there's a mark there. So I've got to measure from there to the top of there now, because as you can see, look, I'm underneath my laths there, all the way up, underneath my exit, so I know that's where my rafter's going. And once I get that, I can transfer that onto a timber. And then what I do, instead of doing the 65mm, is that line there, it represents 65mm, as you know, from this underside. But this is your top height above plate. That line there. You don't go this way. You have to go plumb from your bird's mouth. So you're following your plumb line, or for your bird's mouth, you have to measure from here up to the top of the rafter. And over that side, you're 120mm. So what I'm going to have to do is mark, or get my roofing square, mark my plumb line over there, and then set it out backwards, and then measure from here down 120mm. So yes, it is going to exceed the third, but on this occasion I've got no options. The only other option would have been over there. I'd have had to set the wall plate slightly lower, but when you're at the stage of block work and I wasn't here, we'd have had to set out a mock rafter and try and make brickwork fit the wall plate. So, you know, to increase this by I think this is 160, so increase this up to there, I'm not massively concerned. So that's what we've got to do. So I'll set out my rafters on the back for a height of a plate instead of 65mm bird's mouth, and then we'll show you some more in a minute. For a bit of time lapse, you'd have seen me putting this, or setting myself with this rafter. I put it that side, the camera that side, because there's a house behind the camera. I didn't want to sort of point it at the house. It was in full view. It's not found the people that live there. So all I did was I worked out roughly what I needed as a tail. That could probably do with another 700mm bigger, 100mm bigger, sorry, because I need to get the seat cut on underneath that lintel for the soffit. But anyway, this is my first one, so I know I can increase that now. I've had to cut a little bit. You saw me stop and change it. I had to cut a little bit out of there, look, just to go over the lintel, and then made sure my plumb and seat cut was lovely, which it was. And as we've done before, to work it out, I put myself a 32-degree line on there like that, and then I've levelled it in and screwed it in place. I'm happy with that. I've then cut it off. Now I've tweaked my line a little bit that we originally did, because when this lined up at this end and it was lovely on the roof and all lined through nice here, I was slightly below my line there. But as it worked out, I was tight on my bird's mouth anyway, so maybe my rafter was maybe a couple of mil too short. But in this instance, it was a happy accident. It's worked out better. So what I've done is I've set my sliding square, and I've just set that a little bit lower. I've set this one the same, and I'll set all my rafters this side slightly lower. So I marked it there, as you can see, and then I've cut this off at that point, because this now sits against the end of this rafter. Once I've removed this and all this lot here, that's where it'll sit. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pattern cut 2 more common rafters and put them here and screw them in, and then it supports this then to allow me to cut it off. That's what I'll do, or I may even put these two on actually and then leave that so and cut it. So that's what I'll do. And also what we did was down there, so let's go and show you a little bit closer. So as you can see, all that went in, and the line on the existing laths, if you can see them on screen, is good all the way up. We are pretty much touching the laths all the way up. There's a little bit of a dip in the middle of this roof, but I'm not concerned about that. I'm not going to allow the dip in my timber because it's touching top, it's touching bottom. I've then obviously cut over the blockwork again, and we've gone level or to the back of the existing fascia, and that's going to work out lovely. We may just increase the depth of fascia on this elevation because we've got to allow for the that there, which is the external wall insulation. So there we are, that's on. And all I did, as I said to you, was this height here vertically was 118 mil, which was my height above plate. So I set that down to there and then did my bird's mouth, and that's what that cut at, and that works out perfect. I'm very happy with that. So I'll now use that one and use that one over there once we have cut off. Let me just show you. Let's have a look. You can't get bored of looking at that, can you? Wow. Right, Corby and Matt, before they went and did what they're doing now, which is taking the floor up and replacing it in the room over there, which I can't show you, they drew a line on here for me, as you can see, which is the underside of that lintel over there. I'm going to transfer it onto this, and then I can cut this off, and then we will start getting the commons fitted, and then we'll start looking at how we're going to work this hip out. And I'm hoping that my constant thoughts throughout the evening, and I say evening, I mean from when I went to bed to when I got up, in my muscle I dreamt about it all night last night, about how I'm going to work this hip out, works out, and I haven't had a sleepless night for no reason. But let's see, shall we? So all my common rafters are on, and I need to apologise to you because I just let the GoPro go and forgot to check it, and the battery ran out. So you didn't catch me putting them on. Corby jumped up here with me because he's currently still doing a job inside the house, which is redoing all the wooden floor. So I've been backwards and forwards a little bit, just trying to make sure they're all right and they're if they need a hand or whatever. So yeah, so I'm at a point now where I've got my 4 common rafters on. You can now see I've put my common rafter on here, and if I haven't explained already, what I did was I just simply set my bird's mouth at the bottom because I know it's the same as this one, and then extended the rafter all the way through up the side of the ridge up there, and then I marked where it intersected with the top of these common rafters, and then cut it off, and that's where we are. And what you can see there in the shot is that little plate you can see just there. I added that on top just to give it a little bit more structure for that common and for when I run my hip into this. So there we are, they're all fixed and all screwed in, all screwed and nailed, should I say. Okay, so let's explain what I'm doing now. You will know, if you've been watching this channel for a couple of episodes, that this roof on the back of here isn't as simple as a standard hip roof, which means that all the wall plates are the same height and they all come into 45 degrees for the hip, which is all simple, it's all fine. But this one is a little bit different in that the hip on the side here, the wall plate, sorry, is higher than the two sides. So it's higher than this one here and higher than the one at the back. Because you can see that's where the wall plate is there, look. And I've now got to work out where my hip dissects this roof and the common that you can see going up there. So let's spin you around, let's have a look. So the first job I did, just like I did at the back there, to get that rafter in the right place, was I did a plumb line and then measured from here, again, up to the top of the rafter, 156mm that is, which is top of plate height. So I needed to get that first, I need to know what that was. Then what I've done is I've cut myself a block. This is here, I'll explain the string lines in a minute. That block there now is height above plate. So that is 156mm. From here to there, 156mm block. Then what I've done is I've transferred my heights all the way around to that roof there. So I know that from here to here is a set measurement, and I've then added on the height of that block there, 156mm, to find out that if this wall plate was to come round like this, where it would intersect and where it would be on this roof, on this rafter here. So again, I'm going to try not to confuse you, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way, I just mean it's me talking to you, trying to explain myself. So from here up to that wall plate there is, I think it was 386, 385, something like that. And then I added on the 156. So there's my original wall plate height there. So I put that on there first, and then I added on 156 to the top of this lath. All I did was I got myself a bit of a lath that I've dropped on the floor somewhere, and I screwed it onto here nice and plumb, and levelled across, getting my level the line all the way through. Then what I've done is, because these are all pattern cut, or I could have come off the corner of my wall plate there, but these are pattern cut, so I measured from here all the way up to where that batten dissects that rafter there, which is where you can see the screw and the line. I've then put the same measurement on that rafter and on that rafter to allow me to pull my string line all the way through to this end. Now you can see there's a line there. I've tried to set this up so I'm not boring you going through it all while you're watching. So I've got a line there. So that line represents, when I pull this line through, when it come down the rafter and it touched the screw, so I know it's in the right plane, that's where that line was there. So that's where this line comes from, on the top of the block. I know it's at an angle, but that's where it is there, that point there. Then what I've had to do, I've had to put a screw. If I can get close, can you see it right there in the centre shot? There it is, just up there, look. Right there. I put a screw right at the top where this common intersects with this common, so that's the right line now. So in effect, where the centre of my hip is going to be. I've then pulled a string line over the top of my block, there like that, just putting that at this corner. Whether that makes a difference I don't know, but that's what I've done. I've put this corner, oh sorry, get myself in shot, this corner level with the outside of my wall plate. Again, whether it makes a difference I don't know. We shall see, can't we? So I'm talking to you as I'm thinking it in my own head. So I've pulled my string line across here from there, and then I've adjusted this block to make sure it was in line with this string. So you can see now from the screen, it doesn't look like it, but it is. This string line is parallel to the side of this block. So in effect now, what I'm saying is that block now, if that was a hip, that'd be right lovely all the way up there. That's what it'd be, bang on. Now what I need to do is work out what the angle is this side and the angle is that side, working from the commons. See, I'm confusing myself now. Let me just show you. Okay, so I can't quite believe this myself, but there we go. So I'm sort of thinking I must be right. This is my roofing square, and I thought what I'd do is, because it's not an inline hip, I'm just wondering whether it's worked out, because I've got that common is the same pitch as that common, and we wouldn't be the same if it's a different angle on this side than it is to that side. Again, I'm happy to share this with you and say, well, people just to say to me, well, Rich, it's obvious. It wasn't obvious, I've got to say, it wasn't. So here we are. That is absolutely bang on 45 degrees, absolutely cock on, which is what it should be if this was a standard wall plate all the same height, albeit I've had to do what I've done here in terms of string lines, because I needed to work out where the 45 degree is, because you can see there now, look, it comes across here and not over here. So this is why I needed to work it out, because if this wall plate was here and that one was across there the same height, my wall plate or my hip would be coming across here like that. That's where it had come, right across the corner, but it doesn't. So this is why I've had to work out where this height dissects this way, and then work out off my block to get the same height off plate there and get centre. But to think that I just did this by eye, I'm amazing myself, if I'm honest. So there we are. That couldn't be better if I tried, really. Yeah, so there it is then. So all I need to do now is get a measurement, and because I've set that already, and like I say, because I've got that corner there, look, level with the outside of here, I can now measure from, let me have a think, what can I measure from? If I measure from there, no, I need to measure 45 back across there and measure parallel up there, don't I? To get my anyway, this will be footage next, how I've worked out where I get my measurement from. It may be that I just cut the hip angle on here, or the hip bird's mouth on here, and then transfer. The only thing I did do to check, I did this earlier, this here is my hip angle. Now my hip angle is this. Let me just change this. Now at the minute that is set for my pitch of roof, which is 32 degrees, and you can see where it says common and jack there, look. You follow that scale all the way down there, and you can see that top of there is in between the 7, I have marked it with a pencil, in between the 7 and the 8. Can you see it? Where the pencil line is there. Now I have to go to the hip scale, which is this one, hip and valley. So I follow this scale all the way down, move this rail down, move it round there, and then look at where 7 is there, look. And again, I put a little tick mark there. So I put that to that point there, which is roughly the same margin as it is over there, and lock it off. What that now gives me is the plumb cut and the seat cut for a hip rafter, because a hip rafter is a lot shallower than, it's not 32 degrees, it's a lot shallower. There is a formula to work it out, but I'm not going to go into that because there's no need, because this has just told me what it is, so I don't need to. So what I did was, just to check, I cut myself this, which is actually the plumb cut and the seat cut of my valley rafter. And if I put that on there, I'll get you in shot in a minute. If I put that on there like that, you can see that is perfect. So there we are. I'm really happy with that. I thought I was going to be here all week trying to work this out. Like I said to you earlier, it kept me awake a bit last night trying to think what's the best way to do it, and this is what I come up with, and it's worked. So sleepless night has paid off. That's it then. I'll work out how to get my length now. We'll cut the top of the hip, cut the bird's mouth, get a length, and then I'll share with you how I work my length out. If it all works, if it doesn't, I'll tell you what I did wrong and how, so you don't do it yourself, and then the best way to do it correct. So let's get a hip rafter cut. So I'm going to have to try and shelter myself from the wind this morning because it is windy, but I've cut my hip, and that's gone on, albeit a couple of millimetres away from the line that I originally put there, look. Now when I measured it, it was too long. What I did was I measured from the top point, if I can try and, from right from centre screen now, the point, I'll show you in a minute, it's on the screen now what I mean in terms of cutting it at 45 to the point. I measured from there down to this outer point, and I ended up being 100mm long. Now I don't know why, it may come to me shortly, and then I'll tell you why it might have done it. But what I did do then was I got my height above plate block that we've already talked about, that I'm going to go into again in a minute when I measure the other side in depth for you, because Matt's going to film me as I do it. And it was all good. I then just had to take it down, do another blade's thickness cut off that just to get it exactly how I wanted it, which doesn't matter. Once you've got this set, as long as you're not massively long, it doesn't matter. You can afford to adjust these a little bit at the top and then just tap it in. And what I've done then is, like I say, I'm off my line there because I've pulled the string line through this, and this is perfect. And I've eyed this through. In fact, you can see it better from this side. Again, you're going to have to excuse the wind. I have got my little muffler on my microphone, but you can see it there, look. So let me stand in the right place. So if you sort of look, and then the hip appears, if you can see it on the screen, like that, that's what you're looking for. So it sort of looks in line. That's what we're hoping for. So I'm going to hand the camera to Matt, and I got told off by my wife for calling you Matthew. She said, why'd you call him Matthew? I said, that's his name, and we just like, mind your own. She didn't even watch the channel because I was editing at the time. Right, I'll hand you back over to Matt, and we're going to talk through exactly what I did to set this up and get my line over there, because I don't think I did it in enough depth last time. So I apologise if I'm repeating myself, but if you don't want to listen to this bit, just fast forward slightly. Okay then, so the first job that I did in this instance, and I need to keep in mind on this job that these are equal pitches. I've done 32 degrees on both elevations, or 3 elevations if you want to call it that, back, front and side. So this changes everything if it's not equal pitch. But anyway, I'm not going to go into that, Matt, maybe a separate video at some point. So I've got 2 separate wall plates at different heights. First of all, I've measured that and established what height that is. So I've done that. I wrote that down, and it's 388, which is 2mm bigger than the front one, which is pretty good. So that's 388mm, write that down. I've then got my height above plate block, which is this one. So if you look at this, I've put that level with there, look, like that, flush with there, and it's level with the top of that block. So that's my height, what's called your height above plate block, which is from the seat cut of your bird's mouth up to the top of the rafter, like we've just shown you. So I've got those 2 measurements. So let's go back over here. I've added those 2 measurements together, and I've got 544mm. So now what I'm going to do, we have plumbed this bit of lath off the wall plate. Here, look, level and plumb them even. I'll get told off for saying level and plumb because it's 2 different things. Right, this is 544mm. I shouldn't keep on, should I?
Let it go.
Let it, like Alistair says. I'm then going to level off there onto this rafter. And what this is then going to give me is the exact height of my roof on the side. So I now know that on the side, that there is the height of my pitch roof over there. If you wanted to put your wall plate on there as well for any reason, it's just that much less because it's height above plate block. So that there would be your wall plate height over there. But I didn't do that, and it worked this way. So all we'll do now is I'll get my square and I'll square that line through so I can see it. And then you need to get a parallel line off your rafters. So what I've done is I've plumbed up, as you can see, off my wall plate. You can see all the plumb lines all along my rafters there. Now what I'm going to do is measure from this this line here. So if I just draw that on there as well. Okay, I'm going to measure from there now, from that one to that one, and then mark it on that one to that one over there, and then give myself a line to work to. So we'll set that up and we'll show you in a minute. So I'll put a screw down there, as you can see, and then I put a screw up there just to make sure I'm on my line. Put a screw at an angle so that line now sits perfectly on my line. Pulled all the way through, and that'll sit on my lines. Put a screw there, just so, again, my line sits on top of the screw, like that. And then we'll go over the far end, get our height above plate. So what I'll do, if I just have that off you, Matt, and you can go over there and just check my line. I'll put this here, see if we can hold this for you so we can catch both of us doing what we're doing. I'm just going to hold it for now, Matt, but yes I will, thank you. So what Matt's going to do now, he's going to keep an eye on my lines for me and make sure that I'm touching the rafters over there and I'm not pulling my line this way. So, because it's easy to see, because of the sun, I can't really see whether my line's touching the rafter or not. I have actually ordered a new string line that's orange, so that might help me a bit more in the future. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this at the front, put this right at the back of the wall plate, like that, and then you tell me where I am. Am I touching my rafters, and am I touching the screw? 3, 4. Touching all of them. So that's nice. So that shows us that our setting out over there is right, because I've got it on my height of wood plate block, and we're touching all the rafters over there, and that line isn't sagging. No, it's quite flat, like lovely, isn't it? I can see it. I mean, in terms of it's not dipping. No, it's nice, isn't it? So where are we now? Are we touching the screw now?
The middle off the screw.
Come down to you, or?
That's it. That's it there.
Okay, there.
Yes. On this one. That one. That one. The middle.
So if it's the two far ones, that's fine. So what I've got now, I've got my block on there now, and I've lined my block through. So if I just mark that as my centre on the end of the wall plate, like I did over there, this seemed to work. So I've done that now. So that now, I'll just mark either side of that in case we want to change it. Change the lead on my pencil. Okay. So now we're happy with that. We've positioned, what we've done now is we've ultimately positioned where we think the intersection of the hip and all these two front and side roofs are going to meet, like we did on the front. So we'll have a look at that now in terms of going up there. We'll have to put another line up there. So we'll have a look at that. Should we have a coffee first?
Coffees.
It's a bit fresh today, isn't it? Let's have a coffee and some fruit and some sustenance. Right then. Right, you can see now, what I've done is I've put a couple of screws in the top and then run my string line over the top of it and then come all the way back down again to my block. I've positioned this corner on the outer line there, look, which is, if you remember when we put the block this way and paralleled it all the way through, that's my outer line, because we know now that that is pretty much our outer side of wall plate if it was at the same height as this. Then what I've done, obviously I did put a tiny little cut in there, look, just to sit that line in there, make it a little bit easier. And then what I've done, I've then lined it through to make sure that this timber here is in line with the string line. And what I'll do now is I'll get my little block that I mocked up for my top of hip. Let's get that here. I'll put that on there like that. There's nails in the way there, but like that, and check that, and that is lovely on my line again. So what I will do now, I will mark either side of that block, again parallel this through, make sure parallel, mark either side, and where that line hits the plate there, look, I'll measure from there down to the corner that I've just showed you, or I'll show you again in a minute. So let's do that, and we'll get our hip cut. So I have drew some lines on there, just so you can see. Drew some lines either side, look, of there. Can you see that? Oh, let me get myself a better shot. See the lines I've drew on the side there now? So I can put that up there like that. Matt's down the bottom, pulling that line tight. And there we are. I'm going to measure from that corner now, you can see, that one there, down to the corner down here. So if I just get down here, keep it on the same corner. So from the corner I've just pointed at down to this corner here, which is my outer corner, look, plumbed up like that. Because what I'm trying to achieve is, because it's a 45 degree, my bird's med's 45 degree, because it's not on, if it was on the end of a plate I'd just cut that off at 45 mil and then it'd just go square, but I can't because of where it is. So that's what I'm trying to achieve, look like that, nice and tight, like that. That's what I'm trying to achieve. So I get this one measured and hopefully we'll get this one up in the air straight away. Let's have a look. So I've got a couple of sides completed then. This one's all done and the back's all done. No, the back isn't done. I'm missing one rafter, literally one piece of timber short, and my aim was to get the back and front done so the roofers can come. So it just means I've got to come back and do that, which is not a problem, because this can almost be a separate entity. We can get in and out, we can do loads of bits now, so that was my aim, to get them done. We've cut all these off, so these are all ready for a 6x1 to go on there. And then we're going to decide what we're going to do regarding the soffit, because it's just a bit unstable, those little bits of timber there, but we'll come up with something, I'm sure we will. There wasn't much to discuss about putting these on, hence I didn't. All it is your plumb cut of your common rafters, and then set your saw at 45 degrees, and then that's it. Look like that. It sits on your ridge like that, and it sits down there like that. So there we are. Pain in the arse down here to go over lintels and over block work and things, but again, if this block work wasn't there, it'd be right on top of the lintel, so we had to have that brickwork and block work on, else we wouldn't have got it in after with the struggle, so hence that's why we did that. Really happy with the hips and why they worked out, I really am. I hope you understood what I was trying to tell you to set it out, but these all ended up lovely, nice and tidy, all round there, and all my roof. If I can get you on the angle that I'm sort of trying to look at, when you look in and out there, you pop in and pop out your roof there, and it all's all in line. Again, like I said, that's what you're aiming for. We pre-cut all these ones on the bench, so these are all nice and level. I've got one rafter left to do there, and apart from that, I'm walking away from here now, happy, other than disappointed I didn't get that one rafter in. So there we are, it's ready for the roofers.
Excellent. And there we have it, a thing of beauty. I think you'll all agree. The lads have just been insulating either side and not this one, because ceiling height, as you know, is higher than the wall plate. So once the roof goes on, as I said earlier, hopefully in 2 days' time, that's not accessible to get the insulation down all the way down to the eaves, whereas this bit will be, so we're leaving that bit. So they've done that. What's that?
Your house is wobble board.
Can't say that. Nice one. You'll get there, we'll get there. Anyway, so you shouldn't allow children on building sites. So yes, that's done. We are ready. Hand that over to the roofers, which has been round the entire roof and put all the barge boards on, or that sort of a bit of structure for the fascia that the roofers are doing. That goes around the entire job, all the way down there, all the way around. And there we have it. That is that. That is done. I'll just quickly take you over to the garage roof where Rich is just finishing up over there, and that'll be that. I'll tell you what, there's no two ways about it. This elevation is going to be one hell of a roof to roof. It's huge, and this is the easy side to it. I think in total there's 5 roof windows to go in, I think. I know Rich and Corby have built 2 into there, and I think there's another 3 dotted about. But yeah, it's about, I don't know, 25 metres or something, 30 metres, I'm not too sure. Huge. Anyway, just show you what Rich has done. Scaffolders have been, and I've put a bit of scaffold up round him, around for him I should say. Moved a couple of boards because they're going to do some work underneath. But Corby and Rich have built all this out now, blanked that all off, structured it exactly the same way as did on the front, and OSB'd it, ready for internal insulation to go straight up the masonry side of it, and then straight up over the OSB, and then rendered in one. So that is it. I do believe that with that brings the end to the roof. Excellent. And with the end of the roofs comes the end of the episode. So thank you very, very much for watching. Thank you, Ekster, for sponsoring us once again. What's next on this job? These floors have got to go in, suspended floor down there. I'm going to go down and start transferring the levels inside to out now. It's all going straight through in one. Get that ready for them. And then really, well, wait and see. It's Christmas next week. So we're unsure when the next video from here is going to come out, but it will be very, very soon. We're going to continue working straight up to Christmas and then straight after. So it won't be too long for us to get another update from here. And yeah, so watch out for that. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Press the notification, therefore, when a new video does come out, either from here or anyone from us, you'll get notified straight away. And then you can watch it. So on behalf of Richard, who's just down there, thank you very, very much for watching. Take care.